Clearly, we've had changes in our climate. I'll let the scientists debate the sources in their opinion of that change.
But they're not going to do anything about it. Welcome back to The Ed Show. We have breaking news for all these science deniers out there. The Earth is warming, and humans, well, we have a lot to do with it. It's official. 2014 was Earth's warmest year on record. According to NOAA, 2014 averaged just above 58 degrees Fahrenheit. That number broke NOAA's previous records for warmth set in 2010 and 2005. The last time Earth set a record for cold was back in 1911. NOAA said last month the hottest December was that December was the hottest month on record. In fact, 6 months last year set records for heat. The impact of these record temperatures could be devastating, particularly if you're like me and you love fish. New research published Thursday concludes that humans are on the verge of causing unprecedented damage to the oceans and the animals living in them. As one of my next guests puts it, we may be looking at a major extinction event. Now, a lot of factors are affecting the ocean's health. Due to rising temperatures, fish are migrating to cooler waters. Carbon emissions are changing the actual chemistry of seawater, making it more acidic. Now, we're seeing large-scale habitat loss from practices like seabed mining. Humans are over-harvesting certain species. In fact, fish farms are projected to be the most productive and the way we're going to consume fish within the next 20 years. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not the world that I want to live in. We need to pay attention to this. These numbers prove climate change is real. It's happening, and we have to act now. And we're going to lose some ground the way these guys are thinking in Washington. We have to act before it's too late. Joining me tonight in our rapid response panel, Reese Halter is a conservation biologist at the Muse School and author of the upcoming book, Shepherding the Sea, The Race to Save Our Oceans. And Dr. Douglas McCauley, ecologist, the University of California, Santa Barbara, joins us tonight, who was part of this most recent study. Great to have you with us tonight, gentlemen. Appreciate it so much. Dr. McCauley, you first. You, as I said, were one of the authors of this new research on ocean life. What is the most alarming piece of information out there as you can see it?
Well, you summarize things or set us up really well here, Ed. I mean, we historically have been impacting wildlife populations in the oceans by just hunting them. Now we're looking at what I might call the marine industrial revolution. A lot of these trends we look at in this new report show that we're changing the way that we use the oceans. Just as you said, we're now farming at an industrial scale in the oceans. Looks like there's going to be an explosion in marine mining very soon. We're building power plants in the ocean. So all of these things on top of climate change are going to make the future for wildlife in the seas a whole lot tougher.
Dr. Halter, what's the real impact of these record temperatures that we're seeing with the oceans?
Well, good evening. I would say the biggest concern right now is 3 out of every 4 breaths of air come from our oceans. Irrespective of where you live on this planet, we're missing 40% of the phytoplankton in the sea. That's the base of the ecosystem of the oceans. And with rising temperatures, we're in big trouble. And by the way, it's the biggest prolonged loot in our oceans in the history of our planet. The equivalent of 122 Empire State Buildings crammed with life each year being pulled out of the oceans. It's not only unsustainable, it's endgame for everything.
Dr. McCauley, let's get it down to the local level. I mean, I love to eat sea bass. You know, tuna is fantastic. I mean, I'm hearing that sea bass could be extinct, that the bluefin tuna is having some really tough times right now as far as numbers are concerned compared to past years. What about that?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are things that we can do right at the local level to help avoid this future. And this is the exciting thing, is there's a lot of bad news in the oceans now, and our report sort of keys in on that. But there's also a lot of good news. Extinction rates, at least yet in the year 2015, are quite low in the oceans. What that means just to us is that if we act now, we can chart a much more positive future for the ocean. So simple things: if you're in your market buying seafood, if you're sitting at your restaurant scanning menu, pull out that app, have a look to see which species, these are wildlife on your menu, which of these wildlife are at risk, which are fine to eat. And, you know, it's simple things as well in the way that we deal and think about our relationship with climate change. Riding your bike to work can actually, you know, if all of us do that one day a week, that can help buy ocean animals just a little bit of time. It can help prevent this turning up of the temperature, this acidifying of the grand tank that is the ocean. And that's something that, you know, small actions add up really very quickly.
Dr. Halter, what happens if our oceans experience a major extinction event? I mean, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen tomorrow, but we're heading in that direction.
Oh, it's quite simple. If the oceans die, we die. And we've got to, at all costs, look, Ed, when the G20 meets like they just did in Brisbane, and they don't address the plastics that are going in the ocean, 3.5 million pieces every day, they're wasting precious time. And we all know for every problem there are 3 solutions. One of the situations, though, is we've got to address we've got a problem here, and we're in deep now.
What reverses this, Dr. McCauley? In your research, in your report, and I read it, you make it sound as if we're really in the hot zone right now, that if we don't do something by the calendar of the next few years, it could be irreversible. Or did I misread that?
No, you've got it, Ed. You got it right on. So what's really unique about the way that we approach what we're going to do in the oceans is that it's not too late. Climate change, there's an immense amount we can yet do, but it's 100 years too late that we realize we need to step in with policy, with, you know, our own personal action. So it's so much harder now because there's so much momentum already behind this environmental issue. Looking into the oceans now, because there haven't been mass extinctions, because we're sitting on the threshold of mass extinctions, but they're not there upon us yet, we can actually do something. And that's an opportunity that we haven't had in some of these historical environmental disasters that have happened to us. On land, for example, we don't have the same potential for recovery that we have in the oceans. And so if we can actually realize the opportunity is here and change the way that we have conversations with our policymakers, change the way that we do small things as consumers, the oceans will be a different place in a century.
All right, Dr. Douglas McCauley, and also with us tonight, Dr. Reese Halter. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Very important topic, no doubt. One other note on climate change tonight, landowners in Nebraska have filed a lawsuit concerning eminent domain in an attempt to stop construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. It's another chapter to this long story, which we continue to follow here, and we'll follow the story and tell you more as it develops. Still ahead, keep the tip. We'll bring you the story of one Pennsylvania restaurant making a giant leap across the pay gap. Stay with us.